Hello, welcome back. And today I want to give you a brief presentation on critique writing. I've been asked by a student to talk about critique writing, so I'm making a little video on this and putting it up. So, what is a critique? Please keep in mind that critique is an analytical piece which gives the views of a critical analyst about something which has been written. Now, what has been written can be a piece of fiction or non fiction. But the important point to note about a critique is that it has certain elements. A critique writer will look at the original essay or the original write up, and he is going to see analytically what assumptions have been made if there are arguments, what issues have been addressed, what is the main problem, what is the problem question, how has the problem question been approached, analyzed, evaluated, assessed, what issues have been taken into account and what issues have been overlooked. And finally, overall, what is the judgment of the thinker or the reader about the essay or the piece that he has read? Okay, so this is what a critique is. Uh, the critique is an essay. So, like any essay, it has its parts. Now, if you are writing a critique um, about a fiction, the format will be slightly different. If you're writing a critique on a non-fiction, it's going to be slightly different. But the general format of should a critique should contain four elements. There should be a description. The description here means what is the writer's original intention? What does he want to do by writing the piece? Now that should be clear to a person who has critically read the essay and who's writing a critique. Then there's an analysis involved. What is the structure? What is the language? What is the what is the meaning which is being conveyed by what has been written? Then there is the interpretation. What is the importance of each part? How do you interpret it? What is the interpretation here means significance. And what is the value of the overall essay? All right. So let's now quickly come to now what will happen if you are writing a non-fiction. For example, if you're writing a non-fiction, then again there's going to be like any essay, there are going to be parts of the essay. There's going to be an introduction. In the introduction, you're going to definitely mention the work, the author, and give the overall argument in a very summarized way. How do you intend to proceed with the critique? Now, this is, as you see, this is an essay, so any essay should have a thesis. So, what is your thesis? How do you want to proceed? Then you go to the body of the critique essay. Now, when you're writing the critique, describe the objective, describe uh, what idea has been conveyed in the essay and how. What concept has been explained and what is your interpretation of it? What is the significance of the concept that has been discussed in this particular essay? That's a very important part of the critique. Okay. Describe it again, analyze it again. Describe all the important concepts that are there in the body of the essay. Then we normally close a critique in the last paragraph with words like overall. Okay, what is the relationship between the various interpretations? When you establish a relationship between interpretations and between concepts and reach a judgment, that is an assessment. Okay, in an evaluation, you are valuing each concept and each argument on its own merit in comparison with other concepts. But when you link all the concepts together and you determine the overall worth of the piece which has been written, then that is an assessment. So you have to assess by critically linking all these points together. Okay, in a non-fiction, sorry, in a fiction, that was the non-fiction. In a fiction, what happens is that now that's like a story. So if you're writing something about, like, I have read a brilliant critique by by George Orwell on Charles Dickens. Now, it's very, very difficult for a person to stand up and say, look, Charles Dickens used to make sentences that were so long, that they ended up becoming boring in the end. Okay. That is one thing that is very difficult to say about Charles Dickens, because I mean, Charles Dickens is such a towering figure. It's very difficult to criticize him in those words. But that is a feeling that people get when they are reading Charles Dickens's sentences. Okay, his sentences are sometimes very, very long, and honestly, they can sometimes be irritating. But it takes someone like George Orwell, of course, who was a brilliant uh, essayist, um, uh, to say that with a lot of evidence and with a lot of address and with a lot of analysis and with a lot of honest assessment. So he has written about Charles Dickens, and that is exact. Now, this is something that any reader who's reading Charles Dickens will feel. I mean, the first line of A Tale of Two Cities, it's it can be I hate to use that word because Charles Dickens is my favorite writer, but still it can be unwieldy at times, very, very lengthy, very, very uh, you know sentences can be very long. So, but to write that uh, in the context of a critique, uh, you'll have to read a lot of Charles Dickens's work to be able to reach that conclusion. So anyway, if you're writing one thing, if you are writing a critique on something like Great Expectations or something like a short story, then there's going to be a summary of the description, a summary and a description, and a detailed analysis. There's going to be a description of the elements, and of course, there's going to be interpretation. Okay, interpretation. The significance is still very important. The conclusion is that the overall interpretations uh, of the elements that are studied. Now, you will summarize them, and you will consider the various elements used in the context of that work, and then once again you assess the worth and the value of that work in the context of all these elements used in a fictional um, piece. Okay, so quickly, I'll just give you an example here of a critique. Okay, this is a non-fictional critique. It is about it was published in a journal, and it's about administrators and accountability, the plurality of value. So, as I said, what do you do in the beginning? You give the name of the writer, and you give the name of the article or the book or the journal, whatever, right in the very beginning. So this is an article. This essay is critiquing an article. The name of the article is Administrators and Accountability, the Plurality of the West. So you state that in the introductory paragraph, and you say what the article wants to do. What was the purpose? Why did the writer write the article? So that the purpose is accountability and value systems. Now, this is the overall problem. This is the overall issue. Within the overall issue, there is going to be a particular research issue, which is called the research problem. So, the overall problem is accountability and value systems. And then the research problem is whether the public administrators are free from accountability for their decisions and what are the different influences. So, state that very clearly. Then make your own thesis. Now, in this introduction, the weakness is that he has not made a thesis. He's not said what he will do and how. Devote one line to that, and then carry on. But in the second paragraph, then he says things. He talks about things that emerges from the article. He is honest in saying, please do keep in mind that a critique is first and foremost an essay. And when you are writing the essay, there are certain things you need to keep in mind. The essay has to be focused, number one. The essay has to be coherent, number two. The essay cannot have a negative tone. Well, yes, you can have a negative tone if you are writing a very if you're writing an essay for propaganda purposes. That's another matter. But a good essay normally does not have a negative tone. Fourth, it should have good grammar. Fifth, it should also have good vocabulary. So these are the five important things. Please do keep in mind that at the end of your essay, the reader must not be left in despair. Okay, you are not on a fault-finding mission. Give credit where it's due and say what things have been left out. Keep your tone positive. So it is clear from the abstract that the issue is not simple. The writer is writing on a difficult issue. Give him credit for that. The article is confusing in the beginning. Now, that's an objective assessment. And the author starts by saying that. So, what strategy has the author used to make his point? What are the various concepts that he's discussed? What is the technique that he's used? You can talk about that in the first paragraph of the body. Talk about the other influences that have been discussed, that he's taken into account, and you can give a reference. You can give a short quotation. You can say these different domains generally lay down their standards of good and bad behavior, and give the page from where you have picked this. Give a reference, okay, and then say what has the author done to support his point. Now, that's your analysis. Once you say that he has made a claim, but he has supported it by saying this, that means that you've read the article really well and you have analyzed it really well. And then give credit to the author if he has done a good research. Okay, write it. That he's done a good research. And here he says, and while this is excellently laid out, this is an evaluation. The author ultimately admits that there's no single best design. So what's the problem in this article? The author does not give a workable solution to the problems that he has highlighted. And then in the last paragraph, you say your overall assessment of the article. Overall, this is not straightforward in the beginning, and you don't realize till the second page that it is headed. Okay, but overall, it's a well written article and it gives an important message. And as a whole, it is relevant and convincing. Okay, so this is an example of a critique. I hope this is useful to you, and thank you very much. I will also be uploading the sample critique along with this video. Thank you very much. Take care.